Yo, what is up, guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So, the Can Man, Dillian Whyte, can fight anybody 40 plus, is being rumoured to fight in October. Originally, Dillian Whyte was supposed to fight in America in September. The opponents being rumoured then were the likes of Jermaine Franklin, Stephen Shaw, basically unknown domestic US heavyweights. That no longer appears to be the case. According to Eddie Hearn, Dillian Whyte now is more likely to fight in October and more than likely in the UK. Eddie Hearn said the following: "I think we kind of established that he's going to fight once more this year. Rather than try and fight once in September, let's just try and get the right fight, a bigger fight, in and around October." Hearn went on to say, "We've been talking about America for a while now, but if we go once this year, it will likely be in the UK. Those are the words of Eddie Hearn, and Dillian Whyte also had his say in regards to his next opponent, and he mentioned the following names: Jermaine Franklin, Chris Arreola, Andy Ruiz Jr. and Charles Martin. These are the kind of guys that I want to fight," said Whyte. "I want to fight the best guys, but sometimes it's difficult to get the fights when the guys don't want to fight." Those are the words of Dillian Whyte. So it looks like he will fight in October, from what we've been hearing. Now, if you look at that opponent list, he's still talking about Jermaine Franklin. And to be honest, Jermaine Franklin is a tragic excuse for a heavyweight prospect. He's fat, he's overweight, he's slow as molasses, no athletic ability. Jermaine Franklin's got no business operating at top 25 level in the heavyweight division. This is a guy who basically got a robbery win over Jerry Forrest. This is a guy who couldn't knock out Pavel Sauer. He went 10 rounds with Pavel Sauer. Pavel Sauer being a guy who Huey Fury pillow puncher knocked out in a couple of rounds. So Jermaine Franklin to me is not even worthy of being a tune-up fight. That would be embarrassing. Jermaine Franklin belongs nowhere near Dillian Whyte in a boxing ring. It's just that simple. We can say Dillian Whyte isn't what they crack him out to be, but he's a top 10 heavyweight, he's a puncher, experienced. He would absolutely destroy James Franklin, or Jermaine Franklin. See, I'm forgetting the guy's fucking name, that's how irrelevant he is. But yeah, Jermaine Franklin would be a waste of everybody's time, including Dillian Whyte's. It's a waste of a training camp, it's a waste of a fight date, and it's a waste of the fight fans' time, to be honest. So Jermaine Franklin, as far as I'm concerned, can get in the bin. As for Chris Arreola being another opponent choice, I mean, God help us. I mean, Dillian Whyte right now, he's getting the reputation of being an OAP abuser, to be honest. I mean, Chris Arreola, 40 years old, shot to bits. I mean, this guy was supposed to retire back in 2018 when he lost to fucking Adam Kalnacki, you know? He was supposed to retire then. This is a guy who, like 5 years ago, was going life and death with Curtis Harper. The same Curtis Harper who walked out of a ring against F.A. Ajagba. You know, Chris Arreola getting robbery victories over Fred Cassie. This is years ago as well. Arreola's been shot for years. You can say, well, he performed well against Andy Ruiz, he knocked Ruiz down, had success. Fair enough, but if you look at Chris Arreola's career over the past 6, 7, 8 years, that performance was an outlier. You know, it doesn't match up with the rest of his performances. It was a flash in the pan kind of thing. Arreola's done, he's been done, and he's another 40-year-old man. The aesthetics of fighting 4 40-year-olds in a row isn't a good look for Dillian Whyte, in my opinion. It's not a good look. Like I said, Dillian Whyte right now is getting the reputation of being an OAP abuser. Like, if you're from the UK, you might remember like 15 years ago, there was what we call happy slapping, where kids would record themselves slapping old people in the street. That's what Dillian Whyte's doing right now. You know, he's out here going to get a fucking ASBO, the amount of OAPs he's beating up. So Chris Arreola, for me, not good enough. Charles Martin, I know Charles Martin's not a great fighter, but at least he's got the distinction of being a former world champion. At least he's still in and around his prime. Yeah, fair enough. Charles Martin, he's not a great fighter. I would say a fringe contender at best. But, you know, he's got some profile. He's a southpaw. He can punch a bit. Former world champion, like I said. I wouldn't complain about that fight. I'm not asking the world from Dillian Whyte. All I'm saying is I don't particularly want to see this guy fight another shot 40-year-old or a complete unknown scrub in Jermaine Franklin. And you may say, well, Charles Martin's a scrub. Listen, man, Jermaine Franklin makes Charles Martin look like Riddick fucking Bowe, you know? So yeah, Charles Martin, I wouldn't really have a problem with on regular DAZN. And the last name Dillian Whyte mentioned was Andy Ruiz Jr. Of course, that fight would be ideal. Ruiz has a win over Joshua, close loss to Joseph Parker, former unified heavyweight champion, big name, fun style to watch. Of course, in an ideal world, Andy Ruiz Jr. would be the perfect opponent for Dillian Whyte. It would be a really intriguing fight. Stylistically, both guys would make for a good fight. And as a consumer, that's obviously the fight I want to see the most from the names that have been mentioned, but I don't really see it as realistic, to tell you the truth. I don't think the PBC would allow Andy Ruiz to fight Dillian Whyte on DAZN. I just can't see it. Again, I would like to be wrong, but I think Dillian's just throwing his name out there to generate a bit of attention, a bit of interest. You know, people would definitely like that fight, but the actual possibility of that happening, to me, seems very low. So when you look at the actual realistic opponents for Dillian, especially out of the names given, to me Charles Martin makes the most sense. I would accept that on regular DAZN, to be honest. I think it will be good fun for what it is, but I've just got no interest in Jermaine Franklin. I've got no interest in Chris Arreola. You know what, over the last couple of months, when it comes to boxing, I've been struggling to watch a lot of the crap. You know, beforehand I'd cover everything and be somewhat positive about most things in boxing, but I don't know, the last few weeks I've become a little jaded with the sport of boxing, but obviously I'll still cover it. You might get more critical takes in the future. Maybe I'll take the piss a bit more. I'll still do my serious, coverage of boxing, like fight predictions, prospect reviews and things like that, but in certain circumstances, I'm going to let my hair down and just see what comes out of my mouth in regards to certain situations. At the end of the day, we as fight fans, and I think we're all guilty of this to some degree, we look at boxing sometimes through the fighter's eyes and, how they feel about certain situations, what we would do in their position. But I'm going to try and snap out of that kind of mindset when it comes to certain situations and basically just approach it as a consumer, because that's what I am at the end of the day. I'm not a boxer, I'm not a manager, I'm not a promoter, I don't work in boxing, I have no links with any promoters. So yeah, I think going forwards, I'm going to look at boxing a lot more from a consumer point of view, mainly in regards to established fighters. So I'm not going to expect a 5-0 prospect to fight fucking Gennady Golovkin in the middleweight division. I won't be unrealistic with it, but I will probably be a bit more critical than I usually am, and maybe a little bit more vulgar. Ultimately, I just really want to spice it up for myself, to be honest. I want to change things up just a little bit. You'll still get the same sort of content, but just changing the approach a little bit in regards to how I do certain videos. If you like it, I'm glad. If you don't, it is what it is. But anyway, as always, share your thoughts below. Speedy Guy Delboy. Peace.